It's the J Bass Today Show. Get ready for a good time, a good time. It's the J Bass Today Show. Get ready to ride.
Season's greetings and welcome to the J Bass Today Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Our 49th episode. And my special guest tonight is my co-host on the J Tay Show. Hey, Shantae. Well, thank you for joining me. I think that tonight's topic will be an interesting topic. And just from our brief conversation today, I am certainly looking forward to having that conversation with you. So we're going to jump right into it, y'all. The thought crossed my mind, basically, are you preparing to get old? Are you ready? Have you considered the fact that you're going to get old? And one of the big things with that for me is we have so many examples around us, whether we choose to see them or not. Our elders are proof to us that the longer you live, the older you will, of course, the older you'll get. And there are things that happen as you get older. And so a lot of times it seems as if these things still catch people off guard. Hence, midlife crisis and all of these types of things that we experience and go through. And if we just look at the elders before us, maybe we could possibly be able to save ourselves some stress and unnecessary things to go through if we would just pay attention. So Shantae, when you think about getting older, you think about the signs that are around each and every one of us. As much as we don't want to get older, you think about a little child. That little child has no thought of growing into that grandmother or that grandfather that they love so dearly. But the truth is, as long as they keep living, they'll get there. Your class, they don't think about that. So what are your thoughts when you hear that?
To me personally, getting older is scary. I think about when I turned like 18 and 19, I didn't think I ever would see 30. I didn't even know what 35 would even feel like or look like. So it's a bit scary, but you know that you're gonna get there and it comes so quick. Like I was just 21, now I'm 35.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know when I turned 35 this year, it was like a big, like life-changing like thing. So yeah, getting older is something when I talk about older people in my class, the kids like, oh, like you, Miss Armstrong. That's like,
Well,
I'm not even old, but to them, I'm old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's the truth. Even when we were children, our teachers who were possibly in their 20s and 30s, they were old to us. And so, of course, those same children, when they get in their 20s and 30s, they still feel young and that they're not old. And oftentimes don't consider that if you keep living, there are things that could possibly happen. You don't think about the fact of dentures or a wheelchair being needed or a cane. And you look at the elders using these things, but you don't even consider that this could be your lot. And when I think of the elders, it makes me think as well, they didn't. None of us know what lies ahead of us in the next moment. So we sure don't know what's to come in the decades ahead. All we can do is do as much as we can to prepare physically, to prepare mentally, certainly prepare spiritually, so that when those things come, I think about it's saying or the saying about men, uh, I guess going through midlife crisis, and women going through the change or something, those kinds of things. And you hear this and you don't realize that if you keep living, these are possibly things that you are going to experience as well. And so we just want to put this on your mind tonight, that as far as physically, as far as naturally, here in the earth, if you keep living, you will get older. And you need to consider what's included with getting older. I think about too that there are some who are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s who are still spry and moving and grooving. But then you see some who are so lifeless, who've lost all their joy. And I just wonder sometimes, are those the people who didn't prepare, who didn't consider that one day I'll be older? And then too, you don't think about the fact that as you grow older, the things that you experience in life compound and compound and compound until you have this lifetime of experiences that you have to sift through mentally, things that have happened to you in your childhood, that even in your old age you may still be struggling to move past. And so wouldn't it just be better to have the spiritual and mental fortitude to hit it head on now, so that when I get older, that's not something I'm dealing with, because that age is going to bring its own set of problems. It sure doesn't need me thinking about past problems. And so on top of this, there is the thought of spiritual maturity. As disciples of Christ, which each of us should be striving to be disciples of Christ, disciples who are going out and begetting other disciples. And what really got me is we do, especially biblically, but even naturally, we see, often we want glory to glory, faith to faith. We want to be spiritually mature. We want to be sound in the word. We want to be able to stand firm against the wiles of the devil. But then we want to go to the next level. But then when the next level comes, and it's got challenges that are even greater than the past level, did you prepare? Were you ready? This season, as we have really honed in on trust, it seems as if when it comes to spiritual maturity and discipleship, that trust is a major factor in that. I keep going back to trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy paths. And there are three things to do, but if you do those three things, there's a promise connected. And so the thought to me is, as I just like as the elder who has a lifetime compounded of stories, I have moment. It's not day, I mean it is days, but let me tell you, it can end up being moment by moment. Oh God, why is this hitting me? Where I have to hone that in. I cannot trust in the Lord, lean not to my own understanding, in all my ways acknowledge him in this moment and not do it in the next. Not do it in, or do it in this situation and not do it in the next. It's a perpetual thing that compounds and compounds and compounds. And so as that compounds, you have this powerful testimony of overcoming, of surviving. Of course, the enemy is not happy with that. Of course, your enemies are not happy with that. And so you can tell often by the level of attack that you're under, whether or not you've reached another level. It's one thing to go through something when you're on a lower level. And yeah, the truth is we try to make light of some of the things that happen. I think about your previous school, the challenges that you had there. And then now God has moved you to another location. And now you're experiencing challenges on another level. And even for me, in this season of life, to see on one hand God's magnificent, abundant favor. Oh my gosh. I see so many answered prayers that I cannot help but give him all of the glory, give him all of the praise for. But then all hell breaks loose in your physical body. So thinking of the unexpected, you're looking at all the wonderful things, and you didn't even factor in, because your health had been decent. You know, you have some ups and downs and things, but it hadn't been so bad that it's bringing you to the point of thinking about making a different choice and moving in things. You hadn't gotten there, but it's gotten so challenging this time as you have leveled up that now such a thought would even cross your mind. And for me, the challenge is, even though the question appears, how do you respond? How do you answer? What is your answer? Because sometimes you just don't even know what to say. And really, because I ended up with that in the form of a prayer and questioning God and for direction, I had to wait for him to give me confirmation and praying that he would. And I'm so glad he did. I'm so glad he did. But, you know, I think about some situations that you're personally dealing with. And when you're still in the midst of it and things are fresh, when your challenges are fresh, often we want things to be easy going. We plan, we prepare, we make our designs, we put them up or we put them out, and we don't realize that the design has a flaw. I think about Lord have mercy. I cannot forget this because it is a part of my history, but it is something that I see as a teaching tool. the year that we rented out Metropolitan, and all the choir members were there, and we were wondering, why is nobody here? All to find out that I had put the wrong time on the flyer. How do you continually say one time, and then when you get to designing the flyer, put another time? Well, you know the time. You know the scripture, and yet make a mistake. It's a teaching tool, and sometimes it is to humble us. I think about, I'm going to use it this way, a situation where an individual made a mistake, and that individual and two other individuals saw the work and didn't catch the mistake. But an enemy of that individual happened to come out. They weren't even supposed to be in that area. They come out and instantly they catch the mistake and they spread it. How do you think that individual feels? Okay, Chantel, I'm putting it over to you.
How does the individual feels? Like stupid? Like, how did you not see it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was thinking like spiritually, like when you asked the question about growing up, you know, I've never seen anybody get old, but I've seen people mature in their spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like my grandparents died before I was even 30. So I didn't see them get gray hair, and you know what I'm saying? They got sick, but they didn't get old and sick. Yeah, like they would seem like the same to me my whole life. But I've seen people in their spirits go from babes to, you know, mighty people.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm thinking, you know, on one hand, I was just thinking, like, God, how could you take my grandparents before I even could see them get old? But what's more important, seeing my grandparents get old, and seeing somebody like, you know what I'm saying, grow up so much spiritually and they become an idol. You know what I'm saying? Not an idol, become like a mentor to you, different things like that. But, you know, when you have situations like that come about, it's like you have to use your wisdom. Like, you know, is this a teaching? You know what I'm saying? Because of course the enemy instantly comes straight to mind. That was the first, you know, thing, like, oh my God, here we go. You know what I'm saying? Thing on thing on thing on thing. But then, you know, it can turn into a teaching moment where you're not perfect. You know, things will happen. You know what I'm saying? It was meant for things to happen to show you that, you know, imperfection is okay. And things can be fixed because it's going to be fixed. You know what I'm saying? You may leave feeling one way, but then you just know it'll be fixed. You know what I'm saying? That tomorrow. Because
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't even.
You know, when you said, you know that it'll be fixed tomorrow, what I see in that is hope for restoration. I instantly saw hope for restoration. And I can truly, truly, truly say that I do. Even in both of us, I do see from the time that we met to now, there has been significant spiritual growth. And the truth about it is, nobody can take that away from you. And I hadn't even considered this, but as I was talking about it, it came to mind. It's no telling what the TLOC members who were there said behind my back or what they thought because of that mistake. And, you know, for that individual, they're getting a report of what is being said behind their back. People are intentionally bringing it to them. And it really comes down to the level you are on. I can say God has shielded me from so much, but I know that he is requiring more, because when you start seeing a serious, unquestionable spiritual shift in your life, you would be wise to factor in the fact that trouble is coming. The enemy does not like it, especially when people are being blessed by your ministry, by your life, by your light. And so I am grateful to God. One of the things that we talked about before, grateful for the fact that he prepares us. And in this season, for me, the preparation was simply the word trust. Because now, every situation, it's like the word trust goes before a decision, a movement, that a word before I speak is what I'm about to say based on my trust in God or not. Is what I'm about to do based on my trust in God or not. You know, I think about our planning and how, as I share with you, we're waiting on a specific answer. And the thought did cross, and it's crossed more than once now. Should you at least set out a plan B? But, you know, I'd already gotten confirmation to be still. And then I got your report that somebody else was concerned. And it let me know that we're not the only ones working on this. And so also, even in that same vein, and this is probably the final thing. Did you have anything final with that part of it? Okay. We never know. This is part of maturity too, so this can be part B of it. We never know what the next individual is going through. A lot of times, even if they're smiling, they could be having such a hurricane, such a major storm going on the inside. And so when a person disappears and you can't reach them and you're wondering what's going on. See, immature Jabez would think, oh gosh, did I do something? Did I say something to drive them away? Did they hear something about me and now they no longer want to serve with me? What is it about me that is the problem? Making it about you when you have no clue that that person is experiencing something so heavy that they can't respond. They cannot handle any business at that time. And so as you mature, as you grow, part of what you learn is to pray for those that you are connected to, those that you are seeking to work with, those that are connected to a goal or a dream that you are seeking to achieve. And it's just like David going to the Amalekites to get David and the 600 men going to the Amalekites to get their wives and children and their stuff from the Amalekites. They moved on the promise of God. The promise was, pursue, for you surely shall recover all. Well, let me tell you, if God has given that kind of confirmation, well, then I better pursue. And if God has given the confirmation to be still, I better be still. I better be still and see the salvation of the Lord. And I look forward, I keep thinking, I look forward to when God answers the prayer for the goal that we're working toward, the prayer for the individual who is antagonizing the other individual. I don't really even pray as much for the individual being antagonized, because I'm thanking God for them, that He is spiritually maturing them to handle this by His Spirit, because that has been a continual prayer. So I don't need to keep praying that. I've already prayed that. But now I got to pray for this individual. And sometimes you have to pray for those who are seemingly moving or blatantly, clearly moving in a direction opposed to you. And when I said that, I thought about Job, and the fact that it was when he prayed for his friends who'd taken all that time to come against him, just convinced that he'd done something. Of course, we are clear, because we've read the story, that God suggested Job. And that makes me think, have we even considered the fact that we have been considered? Even, oh my God, even in the situation where the individual had the board up and the only person who saw it was the antagonist. That sounds to me like a God setup. And so, and as if the individual being antagonized has been considered. Oh God. And the thing about it is, I'm thinking about even being sick. We see it as one thing, but when you are considered by God, even though what you're being considered for is trouble, you know it's a blessing. You know it's a blessing, because in the end, if you will keep your faith and your trust in God, if you will keep looking to Him, if you don't respond to the enemy. Now, Job, he responded to his friends. He tried to take up for himself and all of this. But sometimes we don't have to say a word. Just let the Lord fight our battle. And in the end, when Job prayed for his friend, God restored him. And I was thinking, if He restored double to him, where did all those animals come from? How much time did it take for him to get those animals back? And of course, if he had the number of kids he had at first, and God gave him double the number of kids, after Sister Job told him to curse God and die, is it that once God vindicated him, she got hot and they went back to work? And so you have to consider these things. But if they went back to work, how long did it take them to produce another batch of kids? And how old were they on the second go round when they started? We don't factor these things in. And I just praise and thank God that, again, we can absolutely trust in Him. It's like that's our saving grace, that we have the opportunity, we have the ability, we even have the chance to trust in the Lord. And so, Shantae, I've said a lot about this part B of maturity. What has gone through your mind?
Just the fact of being chosen, you know what I'm saying, says a lot.
Consider too.
Yeah, and consider. He didn't have to. It could be the other way around. We could be the ones doing things, you know what I'm saying?
That's
and
true.
not the one
Because we
chosen.
have been. Oh my God.
Because it's easy to be that person.
Mhm.
Just like God chooses you, the devil does too.
Mhm.
And what if, the devil would have chose me or, whatever to be that person? How would that next person feel?
Mhm.
It's just a lot to just digest when you kind of end it, like you said, when you're in the middle of it. I just keep picturing, well, but like the faces of the, what I'm saying, the board and the kids' faces, how they're smiling with the pictures. I'm like, it can be redone, but you know what I'm saying? It's like I posted it already. So yeah.
Even in it having been posted and the fact that everything that has transpired did transpire, as you said, oftentimes we don't get another chance. And so to me, I'm looking at the victory in the fact that you're able to take it down and redo it and show them, I know how to do it.
Yeah.
It was an honest mistake. And so when I think about this, and as I said, we've been that person too. I think about especially the people that we were antagonizing. And for me, it was in childhood. So of course they didn't have the maturity. But if you happen to be the antagonist, even though you're doing wrong, somewhere down on the inside, you still want some mercy and grace. You want somebody to possibly see your cry for help.
That's what I was thinking, like
Mhm.
people are people.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's justified.
Mm-hmm. And so, the thought just came to mind that even though I'm an advocate of silence is golden in this situation, it just hit my spirit, man, that maybe a letter sharing your heart, sharing your intentions, being clear. I understand where you come from. I understand the culture, but you do not have to be. You do not have to be a product of that and bring that here to a Christian school. All of that in one. And I'm here to help walk you through your personal spiritual growth as we are disciples and being discipled of Christ. Just something to consider. And so, Shantae, any final words as we close out this broadcast?
No, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being a guest. I've had several weeks of being on alone. And I'll be honest with you, even in this, the contemplation came that with the lack of views, the lack of response for guests, maybe it is wise to use this time to do something else. But what I think and believe is, even though people may not see it now, it just takes the right person to hear about the J Bass Today show and for them to go back to episode 1 and catch up and start sending it to their loved ones and say, look at this guy. You really have to take time to listen to what he's saying, but he's got something. I mean, I'm not saying I have something, but if they said that and they are a person of influence, it's no telling. And of course, if they come back and they see the J Bass Today show, they'll see the J Tay show. And so both shows with the lack of you, it's easier to keep the J Tay show going because I'm bouncing back and forth with someone else. But when I'm on alone, I have to keep going the entire episode and consider the content that I was sharing, all of that, when a lot of the intention behind this broadcast is to highlight the successes of others and allow them to help me encourage others on this journey. We are encouraged to encourage. And so, Shantae, you didn't have anything to say, but of course, we want to close the broadcast with a word of encouragement. I will defer that encouragement over to you.
I guess my encouragement is to keep going. No matter what life throws at you, just take it, apply it and see why it was thrown at you, and help the next person that's coming after you with it. So that's my encouragement.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of the J Bass Today Show. God bless.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's the J Bass Today Show. Change your attitude, you can change your life. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I found out. Now I'm telling you.